I started writing very early, like I don't know, in school. That was years ago because I'm very old. So
My mom always saw that there is something about this girl and she likes to write and I would recite them in a certain way and nobody could change a word from that. So I think that was the main thing, that I had a lot of conviction in what I was writing. A very dear friend called saying that Sanjay Leela Bhansali is looking for new people and writers. And would you like to meet him? So we would love to meet him. Does he want to meet us?
I think the approach you have for life reflects in your cinema.
Sometimes when somebody does a recreation of a song, the original maker's credit goes away. Credit is a very important thing in our industry. So that's something we stand by.
A lot of people had things like the documentary hai.
Yeah.
Who wants to see? This is a very rural problem. It's not an urban problem.
The one that we stuck to was our conviction. Last ball है और छक्का मारना है और कोई option नहीं है.
और कोई option नहीं.
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Tete-a-Tete with Inaya. I have a very special show for all of you, straight from the heart of Amchi, Mumbai. On the show today, I'll be welcoming not one but two guests. Now I'm a writer myself, so that's why I have this really big grin on my face. I'm very excited to welcome two extraordinary and very talented writers from Bollywood who've made a name for themselves in Tinseltown and beyond. They've written the story for hit movies like Rabta, Dukaan and Toilet Take Prem Katha, lyrics for films like Bajirao Mastani, Padmaavat, Pal Pal Dil Ke Paas, Animal, Kalki and many more. I can't wait to pick their brains and find out about their journey to the top of Indian cinema. It's my pleasure to welcome the super hit and award-winning duo of Garima and Siddharth Singh to Tete-a-Tete with Inaya. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode.
Thank
Thanks
you,
for
Inaya.
having us, yeah.
Thank you for having us. It's lovely that such a young girl today is actually talking to us.
Yes.
We've never had such a young interviewer.
Absolutely. I think this is the youngest it gets.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Let's get on then. So first up, how did writing start for the both of you? Did you always want to become writers?
Yeah, I guess it's individual journeys for both of us. So I'll speak for myself. I started writing very early, like I don't know, in school. That was years ago because I'm very old. So, so after that, of course, professionally I started writing for an ad agency. So I've always been a writer all my life. I can easily say that.
Right. Like always, like I'm sure you experience it that way, that it begins with poetry. I don't know how it started for you.
Reading.
Reading, okay. So I was not such an avid reader, I would say, but I would like do poetry, and people back home would say ki, itna poetry humko nahi sunna hai. So they were not very encouraging about it, like my brothers and all. But my mom always saw that there is something about this girl and she likes to write, and I would recite them in a certain way and nobody could change a word from that. So I think that was the main thing, that I had a lot of conviction in what I was writing. And it eventually grew. I didn't know I would be writing films one day, but a lot of people had that faith in me, and then of course.
Yeah, my dad used to take my poetry and recite as his own in all his office competitions and all, and he used to get the first prize.
So,
nice.
Yeah, nice.
And how did the two of you meet? How did the Siddharth Garima duo form?
Yeah, we met in radio. We were working with the radio station in Bombay, and I was a writer. Garima was a show producer in the morning show. And then we just hit it off. We thought, two writers are working without pulling each other's hair out.
Killing each other.
For not fighting for credit and no ego as such. So
you always got along right from the start?
Yeah, so for when you write together, like he said, for two writers to get along is a very difficult thing to happen.
It is.
And our ideologies really match. Like we would feel the same way about the current government or anything, So that basic sort of brain wavelength match is very important. That happened. And there were no ego issues. So even today, Siddharth and me are able to work together and collaborate on so many things because we don't run after credit. If we formed a duo called Siddharth Garima, that is the way it goes. So radio is a medium where instant gratification happens. You write something and you can actually, like today you have Instagram. Back in those days in 2007, 2008, radio was something where you wrote a line and you heard it on air.
Yes.
So me and Sid really, derived that kick out of it.
Yes. Now you have to wait for a song to release for 4 years sometimes.
Yeah.
So this is completely radically different from there.
Correct.
But also, I won't say get along. We always used to fight along.
Yeah.
So that is a good thing because we always See, conflict is very good for a relationship, for any kind of a relationship. I
Yeah,
think.
yeah.
And
For- even for a
and
working
for
relationship.
creativity, like for creating something, if there is conflict, it's the best thing to happen.
Yeah.
I would say.
So was Bollywood always on the horizon even in those early days?
On like in our minds.
Yes, yes.
We never thought about it. Of course, we both of us, I think deep down wanted to be lyricists more
Yeah.
than anything
Yeah.
else.
Mhm.
So I think it was always on the mind.
So we were back in 2009 writing a lot of reality shows,
Yeah.
okay? And so basically, what you hear, say on a Big Boss, or I should name so many of them, but there was something called Desi Girl. So those shows need anchor links. So we would write very dramatized version of those anchor links, and people around us would say, "यार तुम लोग फिल्मी लिखते हो?" मैंने कहा हाँ, मतलब शायद. And then somebody called us in the middle of a working day. TV has a lot of deadlines,
Yeah.
So we were struggling to meet a deadline, and somebody called, a very dear friend called, saying that Sanjay Leela Bhansali is looking for new people and writers,
Right.
and would you like to meet him? I said, we would love to meet him. Does he want to meet us? Then we ended up having a really nice lemongrass tea with him. And that's when Ram-Leela, our first film, sort of was offered to us, without him having any background on us.
On fiction.
On fiction, yeah. I mean,
we
he-
never had a background of fiction writing or anything.
Like
So Ram-Leela was our first fiction writing.
Absolutely.
So to say.
That was our first film, and we did the story, screenplay, dialogue. We didn't know we could do it till the time it happened.
Yeah.
So, I mean, people plan their lives like that, and we had no plan. We didn't think we would get anything beyond tea in his house. But then he fell in love with the ideas that we had. He told us to come back with a story for a violent Romeo Juliet set in Gujarat. I said, okay. We went back and we were like, chalo, let's do something which at least tells this man who we are.
Yeah.
So we worked on a story for 15 days, and we went back and narrated it to him in his study. And I still remember he looked out of the window and said, I won't rule this out. Today, that's the Ram-Leela that you see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the
So was it difficult to break through? Was it like easy? How was the journey for you?
Yeah, the breaking through was easy, but the real struggle began after that.
Yeah.
Like you have to work on a film for 2 years, be on the shoot every day, every single day, every
Yes,
single
yes.
song shoot, costume recce, to everything. We were involved. Like it was like a film school
It
for
was
us.
literally like a
Ram-Leela.
film school for us.
Yeah. So I think the real struggle began after that. Ki
Yeah.
Now once you got the opportunity. Luckily for us, the opportunity was not a struggle.
Yeah, yeah.
Because you're not from a film background. Like
We're not, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We didn't
it was
even-
just his instinct, and Sanjay sir works on instincts.
Mhm.
That's what he says. Ki the day you guys walked into my office, I knew you guys will write my Ram-Leela. I don't know how far that is true, but that's what he says now.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, he didn't have a reason to sort of hire us apart from what we bring to the table.
Yeah.
And the
But
fun.
of course, there was something in that made him
Completely.
really like, yeah.
Maybe there was something that we even had printouts of our poetry, because that's all we had in terms of our non-fiction, like our fiction work. Poetry is something that is not, you're not writing it for anyone.
Yeah.
So he claims to have not read that, but Sid and me suspect that padhi to hogi.
Padhi to hogi. He said, I don't want to read poetry. I just don't want to make such a poetic film and all.
Yeah.
And Ram-Leela had 14 songs.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, but I'll tell you something about working with him. Like you say, how difficult was it? It was difficult to, I mean, when you're working on a script now, you've written a brilliant scene, you'll go and shoot it.
Yeah.
For a Sanjay Leela Bhansali, you have to blow his mind every day.
Right.
Every single morning you walk into that set, into that office, for him to say that, oh, I love this scene. It can't be anything less than that.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and he's like, he's literally somebody who could trash something that you've written in a minute, or he could just take it to the world and say that, my God, these guys are the best. So you deal with all
No
of
in
that.
between.
There's no in
No,
between.
there are no.
He doesn't hire
There's
in
an
between,
excuse.
that's the thing. So yeah, we still, I mean, the good thing is that after 12 years of that also we collaborate, we do songs with him, and it's a nice relationship that we share.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
Right.
been good.
So Mr. Bhansali is a legend who wears so many hats: director, music composer, producer, mentor, and you seem to be following in his footsteps as producers, directors, and writers. So tell us more about that.
Yeah. So following the footsteps of a legend is a good thing. I mean, he's a legend. You can't compare us to him. Of course, we've only done one film as a producer. So having said that, I think it sets you up for a lifetime, because when you're doing a debut film and you choose everything कि अब मेरे को frame में चाहिए कुछ but मेरे को as a producer I know कि I can't afford that. I can't afford another lantern. So it's better to shoot, maybe change the frame. So
Right.
it gives you that freedom, of course. It taught us a lot. It was a learning experience, of course. Maybe initially we wouldn't have wanted to be a producer on the film,
Right.
but having said that, it has taught us a lot.
Yeah. I mean,
About
we
filmmaking.
know that there's a lot of independence in producing, but it also comes with a lot of responsibility. In a first film, I would say if anyone's making their first film as a director, try not producing it. It's a very difficult job. Having said that, we would love to produce, going further, the vision is to produce films for other people as well, get other storytellers to come in and direct their own films under our banner. That's something we want to do. Going back to Mr. Bhansali, the thing that gets imbibed in you when he's your first filmmaker, our first written film was with him, is the kind of detailing that he does and the kind of perfection that he goes after. So that the frame that he sets up for his shoots is the perfect frame. Even a curtain or a diya would not be out of place. If out of 100 diyas, you'd know that one diya is not lit. That's the kind of eye for detail that you need. Which is from the beginning then Sid and me had that in us. The other process that very beautifully came in terms of writing was the fact that even for a film like Ram-Leela, which is a pure fiction, we went on a research trip. Now you'd wonder what research are you possibly doing on a Romeo and Juliet setting in a Gujarat. So we went to Kutch for almost a month and we went into the Rabari household. We saw the kind of clothes they wear, the kind of people that they were, the faces, even the tattoos that they had on their bodies. So those things really add a lot to a story.
Just to get that authentic feel.
Complete authentic feel. There were places like Nakhatrana and other small towns, Anjar, which feature in Ram-Leela because me and Sid did not know how it's forming a layer in our heads.
Right.
So now for life, whatever films we've written, whether fiction, people ask us, what are you going to research for in a love story? We say, you won't know this, but this is something we'd want to do. And the other thing is, yes, we are following in his footsteps. I mean, not probably consciously so, but we knew that these are the things that we want to do.
Yeah, but we've also learned what not to do.
Yeah.
Budgets. From him.
Those kind of budgets we can't think of right now.
Yeah.
And I feel filmmaking should be a frugal thing. There should not be a wastage. I mean, he's great and he's legendary, but a lot of people may get inspired to think कि मुझे भी एक दिन में एक ही shot लेना है. वैसे नहीं हो सकता. Both our films, we used to shoot at the rate of say 6 scenes a day, which is an impossibility in a Bhansali land.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's something that's something that you take from somebody and then
improvise
upon.
Talent.
So you're clearly following in Mr. Bhansali's footsteps. But another filmmaker you worked with a lot is Sandeep Reddy Vanga, who last made a huge splash with Animal, and that's also a film you wrote lyrics for. So from Bhansali to Vanga, how different are they to work with and how did you adjust?
Yeah, so they both are very radically different from each other because they come from different backgrounds in life. As a human being, both are different. I mean, Sandeep Reddy Vanga is not at all like Sanjay Leela Bhansali, and Sanjay Leela Bhansali is not at all like Vanga.
Yeah.
So, but I think the approach you have for life reflects in your cinema. So that is the major difference between both of them. And
so the thing is that I'll tell you how best way to explain this would be Sanjay Leela Bhansali, the way he shoots his films. His films are like a magnum opus. You see a wide shot of something, whether it's Devdas or a Bajirao or a Padmaavat. You see that he brings a canvas of of say the world onto screen. His scale is different. For Sandeep Reddy Vanga, the scale is his characters. So you'll always see a close-up which is this close. So I'm sure you'll notice this once you go back and watch their films, that Sandeep Reddy Vanga talks in a lot of close-ups. That's the expression of a filmmaker. So that I find as a primary difference. But I'll tell you why these are the two filmmakers who we most respect and are the most revered ones for us. Because of the passion for filmmaking.
Right.
They are both.
That's the most important thing ultimately.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Their respect for the written word. How a Bhansali would get up and dance on a good line is similar to how a Sandeep Reddy Vanga would react to a good line. Like when you write something, which is something that you don't get in the rest of the industry. I mean, with no offenses to any other directors, but we've worked with quite a few, and I strongly feel that Bhansali and Vanga have that in them. The classic filmmaking.
Alright. So now I want to ask you a few questions on your writing journey. Can you explain for the benefit of the viewers the difference between a lyricist, a screenplay writer, a dialogue writer or a story writer?
Sure.
Simply put, I would say screenplay is what is happening on the screen and dialogue is what the person is saying. I mean, just lamely put. Of course, there are layers to it and there is a structure to screenplay. Screenplay is a very, very technical aspect of filmmaking, I would say, because it breaks down the film into 3 parts, like Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. In India, we don't follow that. We generally write 6-act structure we follow in India because we have an intermission.
Yeah.
So that is one thing. And of course, lyricist for a film is a different job, altogether because you feel. What I feel personally is that how a lyricist gets a film is better than always a dialogue writer or a screenplay writer. he understands the film better
Yeah.
than the other two.
I get
In
that.
our case, of course, we are the three, but
You've dabbled in all of them.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
because-
basically, it
yeah.
was pretty natural for us. I'll tell you how we discovered that. For the benefit of the viewers, I'd love to tell them. You first come up with an idea. Okay, so for
Right.
example, the idea for Ram-Leela was Romeo Juliet set in Pine Gujarat.
Hmm.
Now you work on a story around this idea. So the
Hmm.
first thing that you come up with is a story. First of all, though, if anybody wants to write a film, first crack an idea, live long enough with it to know, okay, I really do want to make this into a film.
Yeah.
Crack a story around it, crack all the characters that you want. Just devise how your characters are going to talk. Okay, that's you're developing the dunya of the film.
Yeah.
The next step is a screenplay. Now, screenplay, like Siddharth said, is a very technical job, meaning in a story you'd go linear. Okay,
Yeah.
Inaya was born and then this is how, she scored well in her boards and everything. So you will go technically linear. In a screenplay, I may start with Inaya getting a 98.8% in her class 10th. Okay, so that's where a screenplay can begin. So screenplay is something which is, with what is playing out on screen, how do I hold the viewer into
Right,
my
right.
program, into my film, into my thing completely.
Dynamic.
Yeah.
Yes, so it's dynamic. And it's suppose, like he said, in India, it's a very tough job to have a screenplay hold people. Because intermission के पहले की कहानी कुछ और होती है, intermission के बाद कुछ और होता है, climax में फिर लोगों को excite करना है, and with the reels and everything coming in, the attention span is pretty less.
Yeah.
I
You
know,
know.
yeah.
And dialogue, of course, is another ball game. You want people to walk back with your dialogue, talk about it, So that's
Yeah, because in India, you have generally abroad, Western films and all of the world, a screenplay dialogue is the same. You don't have a separate dialogue writer as such.
Yeah.
But in India, that's not the case. Here, sometimes somebody else does the screenplay and you come in for a dialogue.
right.
So it's very different in India, the approach. Yeah.
Correct.
I'm sure writing lyrics is the favorite for you because with
Yeah.
your poetry background.
Yeah, yes, it is. How did you guess that? But yes, it is because lyrics is the only thing. So, for example, for scripts, we work on a laptop, okay? We develop a story or whatever. Lyrics is something which we still write with a pen and paper. Like we could sit anywhere. Sometimes we crack words in a car. We are given a tune and someone sent us a tune and we are, sort of ideating on that. So yes, it's I would say quicker, but also the tougher part of it.
Right.
But it remains the closest to a writer's heart, I would say.
Yes.
So is it easier to have the music in place and then write the lyrics, or is it the other way around?
No, that's more difficult.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because generally what happens is when you're writing a song, so you just write randomly on a
Yeah.
meter, it comes on you. You can write it easily, like we can write तुझ संग बैर लगाया ऐसा रहा ना मैं फिर अपने जैसा. Now if there is a nana already there, then there is a parameter to it. You have to fit into that particular parameter, which is very difficult. Like
Correct.
Pinga.
Yeah, I was
is
going
a
to
song.
talk about Pinga only.
Yes.
Pinga has been the toughest song, I would say. It's all songs are tough. When the tune comes, you're like, okay, then start off. Because otherwise it's poetry, तुम कुछ लिख रहे हो and you write nicely and there's a thought you can do justice to. When there's a tune in place, to have a thought going seamlessly is a very difficult job. So Pinga was one such song where Mr. Bhansali played this tune to us. By the way, he has very nice music settings. There's a tabla wala, there's a harmonium guy, and then there's
Yeah.
somebody who's singing
It's
it
all
out.
live. Yeah.
It's all live. So and then he'll expect you to give it jaldi se 2 minutes mein de do. तुम कहते हैं नहीं sir, give us some time. This can't be like a noodle thing. So then of course Pinga में बहुत time लगा. It was not a song that we cracked immediately. It had to have screenplay also because it was about Priyanka Chopra and Deepika Padukone having this first dance together. If you watch the film, you'd know.
I haven't actually.
Okay, wonderful. So when you grow up, you can watch the film and you know how that song is relevant to the screenplay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you have to tell the story also, you have to tell the emotion of the character also, and then there is a music meter also that you have to fit. So it becomes, 3-layered.
But these days I've noticed that there's a lot of focus on old songs, which is revamping them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
finding
luckily for us, we've
remixes.
never done a remix. In our
Yeah.
career, we get a lot of offers to, mukhda le lo, baki aap kar do.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
don't get into that because we feel one song is made once. It's
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Whenever I watch Bollywood movies, I'm like, just give me a new song. I'm so sick of those
Yeah.
old, same, repetitive.
Exactly. We
Yeah.
don't want your generation to think that there's nothing, that we are creating now. You'd think that, अरे यार पुराने इलाके के लोग करे जा रहे हैं. What is the new thing? So we constantly fight with our producers. We have prevented our films from having remixes, or old whatever
Yeah.
recreating old songs. We don't allow that to happen, with the exception of one song which is called Pal Pal Dil Ke Paas. That's an old song as well, but this was made into a new tune.
Yeah, so it was a new composition.
It was a new
It's
composition.
song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
It was a new film that Mr. Sunny Deol was directing for his son. So we agreed to do that because the film was called Pal Pal Dil Ke Paas.
And I've heard that there's this thing called reliability of a song also. Like you need
Yeah,
to
yeah, of
ensure
course.
that the chorus comes
Now it
within
is.
the first minute.
Yeah. Now it has been designed that way for the algorithm of the Instagram.
Instagram.
So
So there's not much freedom anymore.
Well, there is freedom. It is more of something that you come up together with the music director. So when we collaborate with the music director, we all are on the same page. कि okay, इस गाने को reels में भी जाना चाहिए. I mean, it's not so much of a concern for me and Sid because we want to do a good song after all.
Yeah.
If it's good, it'll catch on. Like now, Neno Wale ne or Lal Ishq is Har Har Gange. These are really going big on reels. No one planned it like that. कि
Yeah.
इसके first 10 seconds में क्या होना चाहिए. अब ये बहुत important हो गया है.
Right.
But we are dealing with everything new that's coming our way.
yeah.
So yeah.
I mean, we don't look down upon the recreation part because
Yeah.
that's okay. यार मतलब how will an audience like you would not listen to a Mohammed Rafi or a Lata Mangeshkar song by appointment, right? But if it's a remix, you might end up listening to it. So
Movie
it's good.
देख के चले just listen to the song.
क्या
as
मालूम
well.
अच्छा ये अच्छा ओरिजिनल ये है. So at least it is reaching a wider audience. That's okay. But we are against the creation of it. But it's a good thing.
Yeah,
It's
because we
happening.
also feel the original creators should get the credit. Sometimes when
Right.
somebody does a recreation
Yeah.
of a song, the original maker's credit goes away. Credit is a very important thing in our industry.
Yeah.
So that's something we stand by.
Like many times I hear a song, I think, okay, this is an original song, but then my mom tells me, no, this was an old Hindi
Old.
song.
Absolutely.
Now
That's
it's
true.
being.
Yeah, yeah.
So you've also written songs for Kalki in Hindi. Now Kalki is a dubbed film.
Yeah.
So how do you write lyrics for dubbed songs versus original Hindi lyrics? Like do you just do a simple translation or do you change the lyrics altogether?
So Kalki was in particular a different monster altogether, I would say, because Kalki came with pre-judged, like they had a Telugu song ready, okay, and the director Nagashwin of course called us and he briefed us in detail about what he wanted. The first song, which is the Ashwathama song where you see the animation on Mr. Bachchan, was to be written by us, and he briefed us on call and he said, this is what I want. Now what he wants and the words that he already has are very relevant in Telugu,
Right.
but in Hindi we have to create something which is more relevant to this audience. Even if it's a dubbed film, I can't give him a translation of what he already has.
Right.
Yeah, you cannot just translate.
It'll just sound
I mean,
weird then.
yeah,
because
yeah.
Earlier in old songs, like there was the translation used to
Sounds
Like
very
this,
funny.
अरे why old? Why in this Pushpa only?
Yeah.
The song says दब्बल पड़ता है राजा दब्बल पड़ता है. Now हिंदी में उसको कर दिया थप्पड़ मारूंगी राजा थप्पड़ मारूंगी. It's
sounds
a
so
direct
bad.
translation.
It
यार मतलब
sounds
it doesn't
weird.
work at all.
Yeah.
Each
मतलब.
language is specific.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
There is a layer to every language. Na? There is a meter to every language.
So luckily for us, Sid is almost half a Telugu. He's actually a Punjabi born and brought up in Hyderabad. That's a huge
Right.
advantage because he speaks really fluent Telugu, and when a director from there briefs us, nothing is lost in translation.
Yeah.
So when Nagashwin came to us with this entire thing, Sid was like, you know what, in Telugu this is exactly what it means. In Hindi it will sound really funny and bad, so let's do something else. So which is how we could come up with something and convince the director, okay, this is what is good, let's go with that.
Right. So having done all that you've done, having achieved all that you have, what is on the horizon in the near term for you? What can all your fans look forward to?
Yeah, there is a lot in the pipeline. There is a next film that we are making, which we are going to announce very soon. We are in the process of writing it. That's a long process it takes. And there are songs that we are doing for a lot of people, a lot of new music coming up. We are in fact planning to start a music label of our
Nice.
own,
Wow.
where we want to release our own songs.
Right.
Because we have so many songs which are ready with us, and we
Yeah, not every song makes it to a film, for
Correct.
example. So that, and there's one more film. After Dukaan, we've directed another film, which is now due to release. So our fans can actually look forward to a film called Sale Ashik, which is going to come out. The teaser is out now, and soon enough the film will be out on Set Max. So
Yeah.
that's something we are really looking forward to. It's a film for the young people in like small town India.
Yeah, again, it's a film on a social subject of
Yeah.
honor killing, and how serious that subject is in our country, and how we've approached it is the film.
Yeah,
You've seen the film.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And of course, writing wise, there's some very interesting projects on the cards, and there's a historical we are working on. We are very excited about that. So yes.
And more people from Bollywood seem to be making a mark in Hollywood. So
Right.
is that something we can see from you in the future?
Wow. Wishful thinking, Inaya.
Yeah, possibly. Actually, we had written a script for someone for a
Yeah.
Indo
Oh,
or
okay.
Hollywood collaboration.
Right.
I hope that sees the light of the day. It was loosely based on the lives of Elvis Presley.
Okay.
Right.
But since there are so many films which have come after that,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I think they are holding on to it. I
Right.
think that should be something.
But we really would want to work, in that industry and work with those people because we've heard there's a different level of professionalism that sort of comes by. So we'd love to
Right.
experience that. Why not?
Of course.
Also, we were also in talks with Israel. You know, we were supposed to be on a conglomerate for the Indian government
Wow.
to
Okay.
collaborate with the Israel, because they are, you know, a war-stricken state
Yes,
right now.
yes.
So they want to position themselves as a shooting-friendly place, which is going to happen very soon. So
Also, there was
Right.
going to be a creative exchange between their showmakers and filmmakers and, us.
yeah,
But because of the war situation, we couldn't
could
really
not
travel right
go.
now.
But that's on the agenda. So
Yeah.
Right. Now, one final question. This is an interesting question. So, without any prior connections to Bollywood, you've managed to make such a mark for yourself there. So, how difficult is it on a scale of 1 to 10 for an outsider to stay on top once you've managed to squeeze through the door?
Wow.
9.8,
9.8. Very difficult then.
very difficult.
Yeah.
It's a constant battle. Even a song, releasing a film is a different battle altogether.
Yes.
When you don't have an industry
Right.
support from the insiders, people tweeting for you saying, "Ki watch, come to the theaters." You know, today a big film comes, any other star, any producer, you know, comes out in the support, "Ki please watch this film."
Yeah.
That doesn't happen with us.
Correct.
So we are you're on your own. So of course it is difficult.
No,
but
absolutely. Matlab, this is the best question so far. We enjoyed this chat all through, but this question is very, very close to our hearts, and it's something we really want to talk about.
Right.
Because a lot of people may get deterred in the beginning of their journeys, you know. Right from the start, I would say, you know, the fact that Sid and me are not from a film school and we were writing for a Sanjay Leela Bhansali was the point where you said that thing that, okay, you don't really belong to this, you know, sort of fraternity yet, but you're trying to make a place for yourself.
Yes.
yeah.
So having broken through that, as you rightly said, you know, we didn't know how to sustain further. But the one that we stuck to was our conviction. We wanted to write how we write. We wanted to tell original stories. A lot of people like an idea like Toretic Prem Katha. We are very proud of that film because it was something that a lot of people said no to, but we knew what this could do. You
Yeah,
know,
I've seen that film. I was amazed by it.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you
Yeah,
so
a lot
much.
of people had, you know, things like, "Ye to documentary hai."
Yeah.
Who wants to see? This is a very rural problem. It's not an urban problem. While you travel in Bombay from, say, Andheri to a town,
Right.
you
There's
don't
no
have a
toilets.
washroom on the highway.
Yeah.
What would you do? There are no malls also.
Yeah.
So what would you do? So it is a bloody urban problem too.
It
It took us a while for people to understand that, to make them understand कि नहीं भाई सब जगह problem है.
Honestly,
Correct.
I would think that film would be very easy to pitch.
Yeah, not at
Oh
all.
my
It was
God,
not.
we
It took us
went
4 years.
4 years to mount it. At least 5 producer knows, you know, to sort of before the one that agreed to make it, which was Friday Filmworks, Mr. Viresh Pandey's production house, and of course Akshay Kumar takes the biggest credit for this because he was so enthused about the film by the end of it. When he heard the whole thing, he was like, "I have to do this film with you guys." So yeah, that's something that we are very proud of. But to have made it in a setup where you don't know anyone and no one's really rooting for you
Yeah.
was a tough job, and it taught us a
is,
lot.
yeah.
You know, so yeah, I mean, with the industry, it's very simple, Inaya. If you keep doing your own thing and if you keep displaying your talent, you know, you will end up getting your due. Like
Yeah.
this year, we won the IFA, and they say that awards come. I mean, I'm being forthright. They come with a lot of lobbying and a lot of, you know, being in a certain camp. We don't belong to any camps,
Any
and
camp, yeah.
yet they acknowledge Satranga for the best song of the year and best lyrics of the year. So we feel if you stick to your conviction, you really can stick around.
So basically, you know, you need to have conviction. That is the biggest thing that you need to have in this industry to, like you're saying, stay in the game. Getting a break is destiny, of course, and a lot of hard work it takes you. But to stay there, it takes a lot of conviction. You need to believe in yourself. You don't need to get deterred by what people think about you, what opinions they have about you. You just have to keep doing what you're doing. That's all. It's very
Definitely.
simple.
Absolutely.
And that's easier said than done.
Yeah, and this place can get really hostile. Let me tell you, it's not something. I mean, for us writers, especially since you are also a writer, and you know, I'm sure you've not have had to face this yet. But Bollywood में बहुत typical है that you hear more no's than yeses on an everyday basis because we deal with so many people. There are actors, there are producers. There's a layer of people you go through to get something, you know, sorted, like to get a film on floors. Before that, there's a layer of no's and very few yeses that take you there.
Right.
Wait for that one yes, and you'll be there.
And that makes or breaks it.
Yes,
Yeah.
totally makes all the
Then you have
difference.
to make sure that the one yes that you've got, you have to turn it into a blockbuster.
Yeah,
Like you cannot fail there. So the real challenge begins when you get a yes.
I mean,
So
last ball है और छक्का मारना है, और
हाँ,
कोई
बस-
option नहीं है.
बस और कोई option नहीं है.
Well, thank you so much, Siddharth, Garima, for joining me on this episode.
Thank you. Before we end, I have
Okay.
something for you. Okay?
Okay.
I want to ask you one thing, Inaya. You at such a when did you write this book?
So
And
I wrote it when I was about 9, 10, 11, but it was
Oh, God.
published when I was 13.
Fantastic. I mean,
I've been trying to write a book for 13 years, which I have not managed to.
yeah,
So-
because we've been very curious. How does one do this? That's amazing.
Honestly, I like to read so much, so it was very natural for me to progress to writing.
Right.
Lovely.
And how did this story come to your head, to your mind?
So I went on this school trip to Gwalior,
Right.
and there was this incident that happened while we were staying in my room.
Right.
So we were playing this prank on each other by pulling out the key card
Right.
that powers the electricity.
Yeah.
So like the lights used to go out each and every
Yeah,
time we did that. So towards the like when we were to sleep, suddenly the lights went out
Right.
and we saw that the key card was missing. So to this day, none of us have confessed to pulling that last prank.
Why?
So that was actually what sparked the story.
thought.
Yeah, that's how I thought maybe I can weave something horror, something spooky around this.
Fantastic. See, that's the beauty of it. The reason why I asked you this was because imagine a small incident sparked off an idea in your head.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a whole book today, which is amazing. So please always, continue writing with whatever you do. We wish you all the best for your future, but never leave this because writing is a gift. I
Yeah,
feel.
it's a
It
gift.
comes from, not everyone can do it. And writing fiction is a great gift. So please, when is the next book coming out?
I'm working on an idea right now, but I'm busy, so we'll see in the near future.
Sure. Superb. So we want to be there on that chair, interviewing you.
Yeah,
on
you
that.
be on this side when that book comes out, okay?
Definitely.
All the best, Inaya. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, viewers, for tuning in to this episode of Tete-a-Tete with Inaya. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.